Happy Friday. It is always now. It is always now. The title should read something about how time isn't real because it's always now. Hopefully, that title is a bit. Well, hopefully, this isn't the first time you've heard this. And so maybe it's not the first time. It won't be so alarming. But for a lot of people, it might be alarming or it might seem silly and might seem untrue. But again, for this podcast, for the most part, we like to delve into what is true. We like to really get into the depths of what is true. Um, and so it is a true statement. It is not a false statement to say that time isn't real. it's it's always now because it is always now. Think about it. Time is a concept. The way that we engage with time is a concept. Think about all the effort that goes into helping us engage with time the way that we do engage with time. Think about the coordination that goes into it. Think about the incredible global international coordination. Think about not just watches and clocks, but time zones in order to make it work, to account for all of the things going on in the world, um, which includes the rotation of the earth on its axis. In order to make time work, we do time zones on a wider scale, broader than just time zones in terms of hourly stuff. To make time work, we do things like leap years. We make these little fine tunements and adjustments to make it work. And it works. It works for the most part. And it's helpful. It's valuable. We've talked about this several times. I mean, a lot of times we talk about these concepts. We challenge concepts and wonder about their realness and like where they come from. Time's another one of those that it has value. It is incredibly valuable to have a kind of a routine, something that sort of maps onto nature. So we wake up generally, whenever time you wake up in the morning consistently with the sun, where the sun has risen. And the coordination is super valuable to tell your friends that you're going to meet at 11 a.m., 11 p.m. Again, think about time, like the coordination includes, a lot of parts of the world don't use the PM AM system. They go all the way through 24. But even that 24, it's all coordinated. It's about math and useful social reasoning and social coordination. It's valuable. It's necessary. It's a great example of human coordination and and um and creativity and what happens when we all get on the same system and agree. Uh, but time is actually always now. And I did an episode where I talked about how it's all one thing, the implications of it being all one thing. And on that episode, I talked about how everything is one thing. We spent a lot of time talking about like breaking up the earth, and everything that we talk about. We break up the earth into countries. We break up countries into states and cities. We break into regions and um, further communities. We break down into families and individuals, but that it's all one thing. We break up people against other species, that it's all one thing. We break up different trees. We have different names for different trees, but that the trees are all one thing, that we are all interacting, that our oxygen, our breathing requires a quiet interaction with the trees, um, and with the bees and with the birds and the raccoons and all the other animals and everything in our ecosystem has a sort of balance to it, and it's all one thing. So we talked about that fairly in depth. I don't think that we spent too much time talking about time, though. And so that's what this episode is, man. We're talking about time, bro. Time is also one thing. It's all one thing. But it's valuable to break stuff up, and it's valuable to come up with measurements we can start to separate things out. And that's exactly why we do it. And that's why we have measurements broken down, you know what I'm saying, yards and feet. That's made up. That's why there are alternate systems. Even the coordination there is a bit less. It's a bit more screwy. It's a bit less coordinated. A lot of countries operate with the metric system. We do the customary system here, but both can work. They can be you can translate between the two. You get to measure the distance between this and that. If we're doing liquids and volume, they have a system of measurement for that. And time is another thing. We measure things: seconds, minutes, hours, days, weeks, months, years, decades, and so on. But that it's not real in that sense. It is always now. It is always now. This would be a lot easier to grasp and understand if it wasn't for the fact that we spent our entire lives building the story about time, thinking about time as a linear process. We have images, so many images we've seen since childhood of timelines where it starts over here on the left and it goes all the way over there on the right. We also, we watch films that start one place and end another place. We develop a sense of order through events, and we place events before and after. Um, but again, the implications of the fact that it's all one thing, think about that. It is all one thing. It is all now. It is all now. The power of every moment is right now. This conceptual commitment to time can sometimes rob us of understanding that. We tend to think that the power passed, that there was something we missed, that there was this moment. We might linger on something. We might linger on a trauma, about a past trauma. We might, while thinking about the future is also valuable, a concept, a made up concept, the future. It's valuable to be able to think about the future and to plan something out and to move towards it in time. But the power, the operative energy, the thing that's moving the whole thing is now. It is now. I want you to consider, and if you're struggling with this, consider, if you're doubting this, consider the way you think about things can change in this moment. If you have a beef with someone, a 10-year beef, something from a long time ago, in this moment you can forgive, and the entire past can be different. Now, this could be a whole bunch of things that we're talking about. I don't know exactly what we're talking about, but like, if you forgive, like the way you think about the past, the way you think about that moment, which then leads to the way you think about yourself and the relationship between you and that person in this moment, that you can get some new information and maybe choose to forgive, or maybe not even choose to forgive, just get some new information and learn that whatever you thought was going on, that you carried for 10 years, you carried a certain belief, which to you felt like a knowledge, just a truth. You don't use the word belief for some of these things, because when you think about the past, you think of it very concretely. So you had a knowledge about something that has occurred and its pertinence in the present, because that's how we think. But with new information and with a new outlook in the present, the past also changes. That's why we're looking and we're dealing with a challenge in this moment with journalism again. Um, because the journalism is a chronicling of the present. The journalism is a chronicle of the present, and when you chronicle the present correctly, when you document the present correctly, it becomes the past. It becomes a document that we can refer to remember what was going on, what was good and bad, and what was, and it becomes our history books, which are reference points for the present. Our history books are not just things to read, they're reference points for the present, tools for us to understand the present. So when you have this battle going on for journalism, going on for the right to name and label the events of the present, and to have those labels stick in perpetuity for us to understand what's going on in the present, for our children to understand what's going on in the present, you really get a sense of what's happening. It's like there's a constant now that's always happening. It's a constant replenishing of the now. And the residue of now will last in the books, the journalism, the history, the museums, the the discourse, the way we talk about it, the way we believe. I mean, yo, Ben Shapiro's working on a new movie where it's this horrible slop like propaganda nonsense where he's got Jonathan Majors is going to be in it, and they want to take they're taking the protests that occurred on college campuses against the Israeli genocide, the pro-Palestine college campuses protest that's been occurring since 2023. Um, and the whole thing is it's this propaganda to make those very reasonable, human rights oriented students appear dumb and to fearmonger. It's designed for ignorant white people to fearmonger about a very particular real time in the US. This is a piece of art, it's a movie, but it's an attempt by him, a guy who, apart from being in the movie game, he's also in the journalism game. You know, Daily Wire produces daily journalism content for people who go to them to engage with like things that are real. And they understand that there's a thing that's real in the world, and then there's the story that we tell about what's real. There's the understandings that we all agree to. They're the words that we use. Again, he's very adamant that we don't use the word genocide to describe this ongoing 3-year campaign of murder and assault and sieging, blowing up hospitals, blowing up schools, blowing up churches. It's very important to him that we don't use that word because the word genocide makes it very clear who the victim is and who the offender is. And so he's very adamant about that. Barry Weiss is also very adamant about that. She's now leading journalism at CNN and CBS. This is what I'm pointing to here is, on one level, it could just seem like, oh yeah, like people think these are just mergers or things happening, acquisitions, you know, the Ellison family, they're just making business moves. It's all good. But on another level, you see that we are dealing with the challenge, the battle quietly happening about what is in the moment, what is. And it's not sufficient. Like, it is replenished in this moment. Again, everyone has the sentiment in this moment is entirely different than it's ever been for a very long time about what Israel is and what Israel's doing. Because this moment keeps rolling and they have to keep going, or they don't have to do anything. They could, you know, Netanyahu could abide to international law. He could abide to any of the treaties, but it is now. It is now. It is now. It's a weird thing. We think about, like I said, timelines as a visual, something that we see a lot, the left to right thing. Imagine a different graph about time where we're in the present and that the past and the future arise from the present. So instead of an arrow going left to right, you have this thing called the present, and then you have arrows coming out in either direction. That's a much more accurate visual for what time is and how time works, particularly in your mind. This is why we're talking about this. It's important to grasp that we experience things through the story. You know what I mean? Like, we don't experience things as they are. We experience things as the story. As we talked about before, like 5 senses. When we were told 5 senses, you might experience life through 5 senses. You might tell yourself it's 5 senses. So it's not that you aren't experiencing the other senses of your body, but that you don't internalize a story about it. So when we think about time, we don't internalize a story about how powerful we are in this moment. And as I said, that you can revisit something that occurred in the past, something that could have been a weight, a story about the past and how powerful it was and how influential it is in the present, a trauma, let's say. But that it's the story that does this. It tells you that you rest, your present moment rests on a foundation of something that happened in the past or the past in general. When it is always now. It is always now. It is always now. You even things that stand as traumas can be seen as parts of an experience that brought you to this moment, right? Um, Removing the weight of it, removing the burden, um, the sentiment that drags. You know what I'm saying? It's like that's a powerful realization to make. Um, it really does change everything if you can start to engage this way and start to see it more often. See how this works more often. Um, Past and future are concepts. Even the present functions as a concept in our mind that we can experience something in multitude of ways, and kind of based on how you are wired. And what I mean by that is like based on how you view the word, based on your lens, based on your definitions and your language and your, you know what I'm saying, the assumptions you have that you can experience the same thing in the present in one way, you can experience it in an entirely other way in the present. Even a challenge or a hardship can be received and experienced as part of what is, and as fuel for, information and for experience and for contrast to engage with. And that it's all right now, though, that the brain is creating the experience right now. So how brilliant it is to coordinate and create concepts and structures of measurement, um, that we can agree to, whether it's distance measurement, time measurement, measurements of value. This is part of our creative gift as humans. Um, Even again, time is a it's like minutes, hours, days, years. Um, but it's always now. It's all one thing, and it's always now. And you're it, and you're with it, and it is you. And to experience life that way and to express that way, to become comfortable with that, I just find that to be an incredibly powerful thing. What happens is, as I've said so many times, and I'll end with this, is that so many of the labels, so many of the measurements, they have to give way to this truth. they don't they don't hold any meaningful sway when you understand that it's all one thing. And all the weights and the values and the way we judge ourselves and assess and the way we feel incomplete and inadequate, less than or more than, and um, that inner voice, that nagging inner voice of anxiety, really has to subside when you realize that what's really needed is your presence to let go and to find that quietness without all of that. Um, in the now, you know? Powerful concepts. Think about it. I'm going to try to explore the now and the time thing a bit more in some future episodes. Thanks for checking me out. Subscribe. Check out the rest of the YouTube page. Holla. I'll see you tomorrow. How Billy sees it.